Some impressive numbers from investment firm Temasek.
The start of Temasek's evolution to a forward-looking investor really took place in the 2000s.
By the early 2000s, it entered my mind that maybe we should do something more with Temasek.
The idea was to make sure that Temasek became a global investor, anchored in Asia, and also focused on emerging markets.
However, to say that investing was the sole mission of Temasek is just one part of the story. Temasek was always meant to be something more.
So actually it's in our DNA, right? Where we actually have this ownership mindset inculcated right from the beginning when we started. Because we actually started with a set of portfolio companies that we actually needed to look at managing. And being investors, I think it's often hard to differentiate ourselves. The color of money is the same. And being the owner then brings to it a different lens to how you think about businesses. It's not a simple buy wholesale.
Here at Temasek, we are reminded often of our responsibility as a steward of our assets. Professional investors do face the risk of being short-term, and an owner is more often than not long-term with patient capital.
This long-term investment approach and stewardship mindset sit at the very core of the Temasek Charter set up in 2002. It reflects Temasek's management practices and investment decisions, emphasizing good governance and sustainable returns. This charter was one of Ho Ching's first initiatives after she joined Temasek.
So by the early 2000s, it entered my mind that maybe we should do something more with Temasek. And I needed someone who was a lot more prepared to take risks and a lot more prepared to be a leader. So that's when I was looking around for someone that I spotted Ho Ching. After that, it became very exhilarating as we grew at a rapid rate.
Well respected for her leadership at Singapore Technologies, Ho Ching, known also as HC, joined the firm in 2002 and became its CEO in 2004. The natural question in everyone's mind, especially from Temasek's own portfolio companies, was what would Temasek be doing differently? HC knew that the question would have to be answered.
One of the ways we did that was to work on the charter. The charter was a way to signal that we will be mindful, but at the same time, we will want to invest and divest.
The late 90s and early 2000s were turbulent.
New York's World Trade Center is on fire after two passenger
Authorities
planes.
here are taking measures to prevent the spread of the killer
Singapore is
pneumonia.
entering deeper into
Economies
recession.
faced uncertainty and struggled to recover. Singapore was shifting gears, diving into knowledge-based industries like biotech, IT, and financial services. But the dot-com bust cautioned investors to tread carefully in emerging but volatile sectors. And this is a lesson that still applies today as investment companies navigate the complex world of emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and robotics.
We call this phase as a phase of FOMO, fear of missing out, where investors kept piling on to ever higher and higher valuation where the underlying performance actually does not commensurate with it. So how do we deal with that? One way is, well, stay away from it. Don't do any investment, but that may not give you the right answer because if we have done that, then we would have missed a lot of investment opportunities and will not be able to grow our portfolio in the past decade.
And amidst the chaos, Temasek saw opportunities. Initially, the focus was on Asia, Indonesia, Thailand, India, and notably China, with an eye on sectors such as telecommunications, financial services, and infrastructure, beneficiaries of a recovering and prospering region.
Asia was on the cusp of being like a Singapore, ready to take off. And so we decided that we will want to make Asia our backyard, the second wing, so to speak, and grow with Asia. And that's how sort of 2002 and 2004, we began stepping out into Asia.
It was a very big step of the organization, and it took a lot of courage of Chairman Dhanabalan and Ho Ching to make this step. I mean, there were a lot of skeptics out there as to whether or not we can actually do it, right? Transforming ourselves. At that time, our portfolio was more than 50% in Singapore, right? And the aim was to reshape the portfolio to 1/3 Asia, 1/3 Singapore, and 1/3 developed markets. And we were right, because these markets grew, the economy did very well. So our investment returns were very good.
Temasek took a bet on emerging Asia then, and it paid off. One decisive move it made was to buy a 51% stake in Indonesia's bank Danamon as part of a consortium for $632 million as regional banks underwent restructuring. Prudent investments in distressed assets and undervalued companies paid off as well. By 2008, its investments in Asia had doubled its portfolio value.
Nervous traders on Wall Street to nervous investors.
Major new step to counter the deepening global financial crisis.
By October 2007, Temasek was seeking new areas for growth, which led it to the United States and Europe. But it was bad timing. When the housing bubble popped in the US in 2007, the shockwaves rippled worldwide. The years between 2007 and 2009 were brutal, with the global financial crisis dealing a heavy blow to Temasek. From March to November 2008, Temasek's net portfolio value plummeted by 30%. However, the most significant impact came from within Singapore. The top 10 publicly listed Temasek-linked companies saw a 41% drop in share prices, amounting to a 32 billion Singapore dollar loss. Temasek saw this as an opportunity to take the next leap.
When you have something like the two financial crises, the Asian financial crisis and the global financial crisis, about 6-8 years apart, you have assets and the value of the assets drop. You find that companies with less strong balance sheets, they need help. They need a kind of deep pockets like Temasek to be able to invest and take advantage of growing these businesses, because there's opportunities in merging together companies and opportunities in really getting into new business lines. So I would actually look on those periods as relatively positive for Temasek. And at the end of the day, the markets recover and you recover.
Temasek's bet paid off once again. By the end of the decade, its portfolio had rebounded to 186 billion Singapore dollars. Temasek's bold investing moves were not the only attention-grabbing headlines for the firm during that time. In the mid-2000s, Temasek offered itself to be credit-rated by credit rating agencies Moody's and Standard & Poor's, both of which gave it AAA ratings.
Temasek Holdings is seeing strong response to its first ever bond issue.
It was a move few market watchers saw coming. Securing the highest possible investment-grade ratings would enable Temasek to start issuing bonds to a wider set of investors. The first Temasek bond, launched in September 2005, was only available to institutional and accredited investors. This changed 13 years later when both Temasek and its subsidiary Azalea Asset Management launched their retail bonds.
Azalea's mandate really is about bringing private equity access to a broader investor base. And we're talking particularly, ultimately, to bring that to retail investors. The genesis of Azalea is from Temasek's aspirations to want to broaden access to retail investors in this asset class of private equity. So they set us up to do that. In fact, they at Temasek had initiated the Astria process as far back as 2006. You see how visionary that is?
Azalea is one of the asset under management platforms that Temasek set up to capture opportunities in the region and further afield. These platforms provide products like enabling access to private equity, private credit, public market investing, and capital solutions, to name a few. Temasek faced many challenges during the turbulent 2000s. Despite economic fluctuations, political unrest, and market volatility, Temasek remained resilient. Its portfolio grew from 90 billion Singapore dollars in March 2004 to 381 billion Singapore dollars in March 2021. Temasek's growth mirrored the transformation of Singapore in the early days that was also surrounded by uncertainty. The qualities that have helped Singapore develop from an island swamp into a thriving metropolis were captured in a speech by Dr. Goh Keng Swee. He said, "We believe that we must adjust ourselves to changing situations. We believe in seizing economic opportunities and not let them go past us. Finally, we believe in self-reliance." Recognizing the ethos of Singapore's early leaders, HC also saw the importance of investing in human capital. The belief in valuing and nurturing talents has helped shape a forward-looking Temasek.
It was an organization that was always trying to seek an answer as to what it should be. So you get a sense of people wanting to do better, wanting to do more, wanting to look beyond themselves. And so that was, to me, the DNA of Temasek, how to give them the space to play to their strength. So that was kind of very nice organization. Yeah, a rough diamond waiting to just have the facets polished a bit here and there. You want to build an institution beyond yourself, and therefore you want to build a team from which you can grow the next generation leadership. So growing that leadership, growing that the experience and the confidence to take decisions.
Temasek's leadership team also recognized the importance of adaptability and saw the need for the organization to continuously evolve and navigate change.
Change is the only constant in this organization. Since I've joined till now, I think that's true. I think since from Temasek's beginning, that's also true. But change for good. And change in a way that signifies not sitting on our laurels. We don't have the answers to everything, but it's what the old Chinese saying goes, right? You feel the stones as you find your path. So I think that's what Temasek has always been, entrepreneurial in its nature.
The journey of Temasek is like sailing on the ship. We go through stormy weather, we face dark clouds, we got shifted by underlying currents, and then we have to steer the ship back to our goal. And we do so, making sure that we bring everyone safely forward.
Likewise, for Temasek's charter, it is a living document that evolves every few years together with its operating environment.
So that was a little marker that was placed in the first charter in 2002. And of course, subsequently we revised and revised. So today the charter is kind of like, okay, where we are at. Maybe in the future you would change the charter, because originally our idea was a charter should be a living document. Every 5 years you revisit.
Under the current leadership, Temasek launched the fourth version of its charter to reaffirm its commitment to delivering sustainable returns over the long term. At its heart is the ethos shared by S. Rajaratnam, Singapore's first Foreign Affairs Minister. We must learn to do things today with tomorrow very clearly in our minds.
And there is no challenge that we cannot overcome if we have capable people with the right values, people who are guided by our purpose, so every generation prospers.